Thank you, friends. On behalf of the family, I would just like to thank everybody for joining us here in the chapel. Just a gentle reminder before we begin, if we could ask everybody who has a cell phone to please take a moment to make sure it is on silent. Officiating our service today is Rabbi Becca Benoff from Chicago Sinai Congregation. The rabbi has already performed the ancient act of Kriya privately with the family.
So we gather today to remember Rosemarie Kohn. We join our hearts together to give comfort and strength to her family. Mourning is a time filled with many emotions and memories, both bitter and sweet. We begin our service with the recitation of psalms and prayers and poems, thus thinking of Rosemarie's life with the millennial-old tradition of the people of Israel and the eternity of God. Esa enai el checharim, me'ain yavo ezri. A song for sense. I turn my eyes to the mountains. From where will my help come from? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way, your guardian will not slumber. See, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. Adonai is your guardian, Adonai is your protection at your right hand. By day the sun will not strike you, nor the moon by night. Adonai will guard you from all harm. God will guard your life. Adonai will guard your going and your coming, now and forever. Mourning is the price we pay for having the courage to love. Even in grief, we know that the wonder of human life is too complex and too magnificent to be memorialized in endless pain. The gifts of spirit our loved ones gave us cannot be measured or weighed, nor can they be lost or even tarnished by time. Even in our darkest hours, we know that some of their light and their warmth will always be with us, bringing comfort and courage in the fullness of time, and healing and peace. There is a custom when a Jewish woman passes away to read Eshet Chayil, which is a woman of valor. It is a traditional psalm that speaks to the role of a woman in a family. And Rosemarie truly was an Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor. She had her creative side, giving into poetry later in life, always singing. She also had this resilience and strength about her. She made it through so much, and she taught everyone in her life that same gift of resilience while also balancing warmth and generosity. Eshet Chayil, she truly was a matriarch, glue that kept a family together, and her spirit will continue to keep this family strong. A mother of generations, a woman of valor. She is precious in the gifts that she has given to this family. Her children have found trust and truth in these gifts. We follow in patterns that she taught. She is robed in strength and dignity, and she smiles in the future. She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. We benefit and learn from her wisdom. May she always be credited for the fruit of her labor and her achievements. May she continue to live on in glory. It is my honor to welcome up Rabbi Jonathan Posner, Rosemarie's grandson, to share with us some words.
Well, there's a lot I could say. about my grandmother. So I'll just share with you one lesson that I learned from her. Nanny was quite possibly the most fearless woman I've ever met and had the pleasure and honor of knowing. A natural performer, she never once betrayed a hint of stage fright or performance anxiety and seemed to be at her best when on a stage, bringing smiles to faces. I knew her primarily as a bringer of joy. I was lucky enough to often be the one to whom that joy was brought, but I was equally fortunate to learn from her what it meant to bring joy to others and how to do it. We connected over a love of cooking from an early age and a love of singing. She taught me to love long walks, and when we danced, we had the same instincts about how to move our bodies. Having Nanny for as long as we had her was a true gift. I'm so grateful to Hashem that she got to spend quality time with my kids, her 2 great-grandchildren, and more grateful still that we lived so close to each other. In my line of work, one doesn't necessarily have a lot of choice in where the jobs are, and to come home to Chicago to serve as a rabbi was made infinitely sweeter by my proximity to Nanny. I, Hannah, and my parents would frequently stroll over with one or both of the kids to visit Nanny, and it was always a highlight of the week. We never did much, and the visits weren't especially long with toddlers being toddlers, but we focused on what mattered, delighting in each other's presences and spending quality time with each other. She had so many plants, and she knew how to care for each one's own need in a way that followed directly from her intuitions about how to take care of people. Like my mother, Nanny's love language was acts of service. When we moved her into the breakers from her apartment in Northbrook, I was tasked with unpacking her kitchen. Most of the items in there, I'm quite sure, never saw much use after I unpacked them, since all of her meals were taken in the communal dining room downstairs, but nonetheless, her kitchen was ready for whatever. While emptying out one box of cutlery, I came across a small package of frilly toothpicks, the kind that you stick in deli sandwiches. And I was struck by the apparent absurdity of their presence. Of all things to pack, to take account of in her kitchen, this small box of decorative toothpicks made their way to her new apartment. And I asked her, "Nanny, why did you take the time to pack these?" And she answered quite simply, "In case I have guests." It took a long time for the profundity of her response to sink in. There's a deep well of wisdom in those words. In case I have guests, I want to always put my best foot forward. I am a simple woman with no real flair for the fancy, but I will always take the time to make something feel special for someone else. In case I have guests, I will take the time to prepare my space so that they feel at home. But really at home, in the best sense of home. The toothpicks signal here, you can be the best version of yourself. In case I have guests, I will want to make the occasion festive, because no matter how long or short the visit, there was always something to celebrate. Nanny's love language is my mom's love language and is mine. In these toothpicks, I see a chain of tradition linking me to my ancestors, people who love to host, who love to care for others, who can never quite sit still long enough to enjoy something for themselves, and only take that time once everyone else is seen to. Nanny was my first hospitality teacher, and in many subtle ways, maybe my best. She taught me that the little things matter, and about the potential of something seemingly insignificant to have a great impact, that you can do a lot with very little, and that it could change someone's life. Those toothpicks were never used, and when I pack up her kitchen and sort through what items can be donated or passed on to other people and what needs to be thrown away, I'm keeping the toothpicks. Yehi zichra baruch. May her memory be blessed and serve as a blessing. Ruth bat Avram v'Sarah, a legend, a great woman, and forever my nanny. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing these beautiful memories. I'll invite up Stephanie, another one of her grandchildren, to share some memories.
Rosemarie was our nanny, a woman who knew what she wanted, did what she always was best for her family, and defined a lot of social norms. I'm Stephanie, the youngest granddaughter. My siblings are Becky and Tim Payon, and we are the children of Rosemarie's oldest son, Frank Payon. Our childhoods were full of traditional Italian-American gatherings, crammed in a tiny row house in the Gramercy Park neighborhood in Clifton Heights, PA, a suburb of Philadelphia. By the way, go Birds. Her home was a symbol of a woman who took hard work, saving and loving to the point of risking everything to have a better life. Nanny was a single mother after leaving her first husband in the mid-50s. I won't go into the full history, but she did what she had to do to be on her own 2 feet, not overly dependent on anyone, and raised her kids to do the same. Nanny was the matriarch and the organizer of every family gathering. Our memories are full of homemade food, summer gardens full of tomatoes, basil, oregano, and sleepovers in the same rooms as our dad, Uncle John, and Aunt Patty grew up in. As adults, visiting her here in Chicago was seeing Nanny in a different way, as she was able to see our cousin Jonathan grow up, get married, and enjoy the gift of great-grandchildren to adore. She gave us hope that finding love is possible. Our Poppy, her second husband, Manny Kohn, was the person she adored. Their smiles and ability to laugh with each other shined in all their pictures. Poppy worshipped her, but Nanny was still independent and had his support when she asked for it. The one thing that we all will miss most is the light she glowed. If you knew her talent as a singer. When she walked in the room, she became the mayor. She had a zest that kept her alive as long as she did. She wanted to be involved, always learning, always moving, and be a devoted friend. She would let you know how she felt, and she rarely held back. But in those moments, she truly cared about you. She never stopped caring despite how wayward and unconventional some of us grew up to become. She always said she was the first to do things in her family and strike out her own path. Towards the end of her life, she had talked to a few of us about her thoughts on passing, the way she used to leading the way, but she was now the last one. She missed her children who preceded her. She missed her grandson. She missed all her friends in Chicago and Philadelphia. She missed all her cousins and siblings. She missed Poppy most of all. Many, many decades of life lived, and we were spoiled here on earth to have her. But I know all those people who preceded her are the largest welcoming committee in heaven, throwing the biggest party to honor her. We love you.
Thank you. And I'll invite Neil up to also share some words.
When I met Patty and fell in love, I had a strong desire to meet her parents, I did meet them only a few months after meeting Patty. I did not know what to expect. After all, at the time, I was just a freelance piano player who had only recently started a business in Hollywood. I would have understood if Rosemarie and Manny might have been skeptical. If they were, they did not show it. On the contrary, they embraced me, and I embraced them. It boggles my mind that Rosemarie was part of my life for more than half of my life. I could not be more grateful for that. more important than how much time I got to spend with her is how much valuable my time was with her. What I originally hoped for with her was, a workable mother-in-law, son-in-law relationship. From the very beginning, though, what I received was complete acceptance. She never treated me as merely a son-in-law to be tolerated. She became a confidant of mine and me of her. She treated me as a peer, and in turn, I treated her the same. I advised her. She advised me. But where she gave me more than I gave her was repeated and ongoing lessons in courage. And for all that and more, I am eternally grateful for the blessing she was in my life and in the lives of my family. Thank you.
And finally, I'll invite up Patty, her daughter, to share some words.
Good morning. Before I start my tribute to my mother, I would like to read one of her poems. My mother became a poet in her 80s and 90s and wrote numerous poems, and I want to thank the poem and short story teachers that she had at the Breakers who helped her put into words such beautiful writings. And I want to share this one she wrote about her husband, my devoted stepfather, Manny Khan. It was titled Husband. I have lived longer than he did, and I have been deprived of passion, the fiery embrace of intimate longing, clutching a pillow and breathing in his aroma, stroking my face like a soft breeze, awaiting the kiss of wanting simple kindnesses, holding my hand when I needed courage, a roughly wrapped gift of surprise placed in my underwear drawer, breakfast, a special treat awaiting me, listening to my frustrations and nodding without comment. All the living things are gone, but the passion is relived in my dreams. Thank you all for being with our family as we celebrate my mom, Rosemarie Pietropola Kohn. You have just heard from my loving husband, our loving son, and my loving niece, Stephanie. They're loving tributes of my mom. Now it's my turn. There were always three things that I prayed for and wanted without fail for you, Mom, and for me. First, that I would be alive and of sound mind and body, truly present for you. I did not want you to endure the unimaginable pain of outliving all three of your children, your beloved husband, your immediate family, and extended family members, and countless friends. The second, I would be with you as you transition from this life, this world, to the next world. Support you in every way possible. On February 5th, 1954, you delivered me into this world at your age of 26, the third and youngest of your three children. You gave me everything possible that a loving parent can give to one of their children. On February 20th, 2025, God answered my prayers and gave me the gift to deliver you to the next world. Believe me, I did not do this entirely on my own. I cannot thank enough the medical, the nursing, and allied health teams at Swedish Covenant Hospital. They gave my mom and me the space to navigate on our own terms her end-of-life journey. I will always remember how they treated my mom with dignity and gentleness. Sadly, I know full well that our experience at Swedish has not and is not the case for many families. Remember, I lived and breathed nursing for decades, and I saw the underbelly of the healthcare system that we have in this country. The one thing about my mom that has always stood out to me, even as a young child, was her determination to persevere through adversity and never let others have the satisfaction to see her sweat or know her true feelings. To that end, I remember our time together sharing the same bedroom at Grandmom and Grandpop's house on Maple Shade Road in Ardmore, and how you would sing songs to me to help me feel less afraid or less on edge in certain situations. Two songs stand out. The 1951 song, I Whistle a Happy Tune, from the Broadway show and film The King and I. The second song, 1963, the song Put on a Happy Face, from the movie Bye Bye Birdie. My mom did not just sing those songs beautifully. She had a killer voice. She truly, truly lived those lyrics. She was not a fake, not one bit. The songs were her battle cry. Hell be damned. I'm going to get past this. And you did, Mom. And you want to read the lyrics to the song, I Whistle a Happy Tune, and that this stays with all of us. Whenever I feel afraid, I hold my head erect and I whistle a happy tune so no one will suspect I'm afraid. While shivering in my boots, I strike a careless pose and whistle a happy tune, and no one ever knows I'm afraid. The result of this deception is very strange to tell, for when I fool the people I fear, I fool myself as well. I whistle a happy tune, and every single time, the happiness in the tune convinces me that I'm not afraid. Make believe you're brave, and the trick will take you far. You may be as brave as you make believe you are. You may be as brave as you make believe you are. Thank you.
Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, and life is a journey, from childhood to maturity and youth to age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness, and often back again. From health to sickness and back, we pray to health again, from offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion and grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey stage by stage. A sacred pilgrimage, birth is a beginning, and death a destination, and life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage to life everlasting. When I first moved to Chicago, one of the first calls I got to visit someone was Rosemarie. I came over to Patty and Neil's home, and I sat with her, and I probably could have sat with her for a few more hours. I still can't tell you exactly what we talked about, but she was just so lovely to be around. We swapped stories about Philadelphia and our favorite neighborhoods. We talked about Judaism. She told me how she found so much comfort in praying every day. And as I learned more about Patty and Neil, I heard these stories about this woman who was so resilient, so strong, and who had this lust for life and this great joy in living regardless of whatever life threw at her. She will be remembered for these traits, and she'll be remembered for the memories of singing, of Italian food, of little toothpicks. And I also think about the song that Patty shared and how it feels so similar to the Hebrew song, Gesher Tzar Ma'od, that all life is a narrow bridge, and that the most important part is not to be afraid. When Patty had the chance to write a word in a new Torah, she chose the word sor. She was a rock for this family, and her memory will continue to be tzor, a rock for everyone here. Turn together to Psalm 23. Adonai ro'i lo echsar binot desha yerbitseni al me menuchot yanachaleni nafshi yeshovev yanachani v'ma'ale tzedek lema'an shmo gam ki elech begei salmevet lo ira ra ki ata imadi shivtecha imish anechtecha hema yanacha mevi. We turn together to the English in the packet together. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. As we turn to the traditional words of El Maleh Rachamim, I invite up Jonathan to chant these words. I invite everyone to please rise.
Do you have the text? Yeah, perfect. El Maleh Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hamtzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, B'ma'alot Kedoshim, Uteorim Kezohar Harakia Mazirim, Et Nishmat Ruth Bat Avram Sarah Shalcha L'Olama, Baal Rachamim, Yasira B'Seter Kanafecha Le'olamim, V'yitzor B'tzor Chaim Et Nishmata, Adonai Hu Nachlata, V'tanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkavah, V'nomar, Amen. O God, full of compassion, thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of thy presence among the holy and pure who shine as the brightness of the firmament unto the soul of Rosemarie Kohn, who is gone unto eternity. Lord of mercy, bring her under the cover of thy wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Be God's possession, and may her repose be peace. Amen.
May be seated. May the Holy One of blessing, for whom all things come and to whom all things return, give us light and peace on this day of grief and mourning. And may our service in memory of Rosemarie Kohn bring comfort and strength.
Friends, this does conclude our service here at the chapel. Interment will take place immediately at the family plot at Sunset Memorial Lawns in Northbrook. Upon return from the cemetery, the family will be sitting Shiva Monday through Thursday, 5 p.m. through 8 p.m. with meeting at 7 p.m., and then Saturday evening with meeting at 7 p.m. That is at the Peone Posner Residence, 1730 North Clark, Unit 1006 in Chicago. Memorial contributions in Rosemarie's memory can be made to Metro Chicago Hillel or to Chicago Sinai Congregation. That information is available on the service folder that you received on the way in. If you did not receive one, they're available on the way out, and they're also additionally on the funeral home website as well. In just a moment, a procession will be forming just outside the chapel in our parking lot. For those who wish to join the family in procession to the cemetery, please make sure you obtain an orange funeral safety sticker, which can be placed on the inside portion of your windshield. For an additional measure of safety, we'll be placing magnetic flags on the rooftop portions of your vehicles throughout the procession. While in procession, please make sure your bright lights and hazard lights are on at all times. Please drive as closely to the car in front of you as safety permits. We want to avoid any large gaps while in procession, especially as we pass through intersections. Please use your horns very liberally, especially as we pass through the intersections. The following individuals have been honored to serve as pallbearers. When I call your name, if you could please rise and stand next to Rosemarie's casket. David Blatchley, Mr. Neil Posner, Rabbi Jonathan Posner, and Stephanie Peone. At this time, I'm going to ask everybody in the chapel to please rise as we escort the casket, the family, and the rabbi from the chapel.